face covering food. In this COVID-19 filled age, what is the one thing all of us have been required to wear? Exactly, masks. But which one is the best? Out of all the masks, the types most people have access to are cloth, surgical, neck gaiters, and occasionally KN95 masks. So those are the ones I tested. To be specific, I employed a 2-layer cloth mask instead of a 1-layer cloth mask because a 1-layer cloth mask would be way too similar to a neck gaiter. Furthermore, many say that masks are annoying to wear because they can fog glasses, irritate skin, and even make it harder to breathe. So is it really worth donning a mask? My hypothesis predicted that the KN95 mask would prove to be supreme. The 2-layer cloth and surgical would place in second, and the neck gaiter would be dead last. But a nagging question rang in my mind. How on earth would I test my hypothesis? Obviously, I don't have the million-dollar tech that scientists of our day use to test my hypothesis. I mean, come on, look at me. Does a middle-class boy like me have $1 million lying around in his messy, dirty room? No. Anyway, my original idea was to put one of the masks on and then blow towards a lit candle to observe whether the candle flame wiggled or extinguished, signifying that air had gotten through the mask. But there were numerous experiment-crushing problems with this concept. Mainly, I would never blow at the same speed or ferocity each time. That meant that the air spewed towards the mask, and then the candle would never be consistent. Was that it? Was I done? Had my experiment already been defeated by such a pitifully fatal flaw? Then, a problem-solving idea struck me. I would lodge a balloon pump inside a foam head. That way, the airflow would always be consistent. I don't know if this is alarming or not, but I very much enjoyed cutting that foam head. Put simply, this is how this contraption works. I would place the mask of choice onto the foam head, light the candle, prime the balloon pump, and then compress the balloon pump for 1 second to send air through a drilled hole in the nose to simulate a human breathing. Each time, I would change which mask I used. That would be my independent variable. For more on variables, a more detailed procedure, and the materials I used, please check out these 3 sections on my board. Now that I knew how I would test my hypothesis, I performed my experiment, and here are the results. Supporting my hypothesis, the KN95 mask prevented enough airflow, allowing the flame to stay stagnant. To my surprise, both the 2-layer cloth and surgical performed just as well as the KN95. Unfortunately, the neck gaiter did not, and the flame was disturbed and wiggled, proving that air had seeped through the mask. If that was a real person wearing that neck gaiter, a significant number of particles and aerosols that could contain deadly viruses, such as COVID-19, would be in the air. I also did a second test, but this time I compressed the balloon pump as fast as possible to simulate a cough or a sneeze on chew. The first 3 masks debuted to similar results. But most shockingly, the neck gaiter not only failed miserably, resulting in the flame being completely quenched, but also violently displacing liquid wax out of the candle and onto the floor. And for any of you who have not experienced the absolutely delightful pleasure of cleaning up solid wax, I will spare the words and say it was very difficult and took lots of time. If you are a more visual person, I implore you to check out this iPad here, playing a constant loop of my results. I think it's zoomed in. Okay, in conclusion, my hypothesis was partially correct, considering I did not think that the 2-layer cloth and surgical would perform just as well as the KN95. Now to answer my initial question and to end this face-covering feud, there are many optimal masks, but no definitive best mask that is widely available to the public. So as long as you wear a 2-layer or more cloth, surgical, or KN95, you should be fine. While neck gaiters will allow you into mask-requiring areas and are preferred by some, they are not ideal if you truly desire to prevent the spread of airborne viruses. And yes, according to my research and this experiment, donning a mask is worth it. Finally, I would like to thank my uncle and mother for providing me with an ample supply of masks, and most importantly, God for giving me the ability to perform this experiment. Thank you very much for your time.
Layout of the experiment. What is the difference between a KN95 and a surgical mask?
So the main difference is a KN95 has 5 layers, whereas a surgical one usually has like 2 to 3 layers. And a KN95 mask is like designed to prevent airborne viruses, whereas a surgical is more designed to for like of course medical people who are working with like bodies, because it's meant to protect you from like bodily fluids and other liquids. And it is a lot less tight, whereas the KN95 will fit snugly on a face.
Great. Good. Do you think that, we talked a lot about viruses, and obviously COVID is all the rage, all the discussion right now. But in other years, it's the flu, or it's other adenoviruses or coronaviruses or things that we deal with. If you were to extrapolate your results, do you think that this would have a similar impact on kind of public health? Let's say 10 years from now, are we all going to be wearing masks?
Wait, can you please repeat that again?
What do you think? Do you think that the public health implications? I'm just asking. This is not really about your experiment directly. But do you think that the public? You said that masks are worth it. That was one of your conclusions. Do you think that a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we're all going to be walking around in masks at Whole Foods?
I mean, well, hopefully, of course, these are being used because not everyone has the vaccine, but once a lot of people get the vaccine, masks, will be nice. It'll be an extra layer of protection, but not as necessary.
Good. Talk to me too. The other big question that I had is about how you measure, the impact, and I think you controlled beautifully for a lot of variables. Do you think if you had unlimited funds, you had access to $1 million? How would you measure, rather than just looking at a flame being stagnant, disturbed, or extinguished? How could you grade that in a more fine way? How would you try to do that?
Okay, well, if I had the funds, I would do it how the scientists of our day would be doing it, which is they send like lots of particles straight towards the mask.
Good.
And then I would I would do exactly what the scientists of our day were doing. I would research how they do it, gather everything I would need to do it, and execute.
Yeah. And that is how they're doing it. I don't know if you know that. So that they're, the way we are testing masks. Yeah, we actually send a fixed particle number, and we look at the particle size through these different masks. And we've got early on, we didn't have access to the N95s, which are kind of the real snug and individualized. And so we got all these KN95s, which don't always seal as well. So that's exactly how we did it. We put it through particulate filters and actually looked to see how many particles broke through.
Can you think of a way you could, maybe, assuming you didn't have $1 million, but could you think of a way you could test particle flow specifically through the masks with, maybe more simple materials?
Well, I had one idea, which was using like a spray bottle, and spraying it towards it, and then have like a wall behind it, and see if any water got through, and there'd be kind of like a sneeze, something like droplets. But for particles, maybe I could do like a confetti cannon, and put like mini, fine sand or glitter, and send it through, and see if any got through or escaped at the edges. That would probably be how I did it, how I would do it.
Yeah, great. Asking those questions, even if you don't know, using that creativity is spot on. That's really, really well done and so timely. Thank you for thinking about this.
My final question is: are you aspiring to public health, presidential advisor for public health or something like that? Dr. Fauci.
It's always an option. I have many career paths that I can choose from. I'm still young, so yeah, that's always an option. That would be it would be a stable job. It'd be profitable. It'd be you get to meet cool people, President of the United States, if I got to that position. But not particularly at this time.
Sounds good. All right, great job. Very good.
Thank you very much.
Really nice job.
Good job.
Come over here.